So we are about to do the Redeemed Women in Vanna White tour and kind of just give you a glimpse of what it looks like to be in our neighborhood. And the one thing I love about my block is I know every last neighbor on the block. I'm friends with them all. And so the first thing that I really like to highlight as we travel is, and we're coming up on it, is the housing development. And the housing development is what we call Section 8 low-income housing. And so there was a time when this housing development used to be run down and really old and raggedy. And now they have rebuilt it what they look like townhomes now. And so this is what they call government housing. So the ladies get to pay rent, low income, or a Section 8 voucher. And so what that is the government pays most of it or none, depending on their situation. There are about 545 units on 25 units on this property, give or take. This building here is the senior tower, and so they house about 100 and something seniors. But then the rest are just regular apartments, 2, 3, and 4 bedroom apartments or townhome style living. And so the ladies are required to, if they're not working, they're required to do some community service hours. So that's how I meet them. They're required to do a mentorship program. They also are required to just say they're volunteering somewhere. And so I meet a lot of the ladies for that reason. A lot of them are in court cases with CPS. And so I also teach a parenting class that CPS approved to the ladies in the community. Because I'm all about, if you're gonna provide something for the community, it needs to be what they need and what they want, and not just, something that we want to say. So we're a transportation desert, and so that's why we provide transportation assistance. But this is also one of our buses that come in the neighborhood, and this is the number 11 Bear Street. And this bus comes and runs in the neighborhood every 30 to 45 minutes, depending on the peak hours. And it just goes in and out of the neighborhood, goes into bonton and up to downtown and back. Then we also have our local drugstore that sells liquor, booze, and backdoor drugs. And
was that it? Just passed?
Yes, that was it. We're gonna pass another one. This is our laundromat desert. So we have a full service laundromat here that hasn't been opened in about 7 years. And we don't know when it's gonna be open, but it's just sitting there right now. Another liquor store. And you see the people, they just like to hang out and just chill, and they're in no hurry. But you get a lot of that down here. And the one thing that the people love about the liquor store is it's convenient for them. They sell hot food, but they also take the food stamp card. And they sell, the alcohol and drugs along with the hot food. Our street, Bear Street, which we call Baxter, but we call it Bear Street, has 10 churches on this street that do absolutely nothing for the community. They have the drive-in, drive-out pastors that preach the health and wealth gospel. And I say drive-in and drive-out because they drive up in their Mercedes and they drive out on Sundays. This is the local school that's being rebuilt. This is H.S. Thompson, and they tore it down, and now they're rebuilding it. And they tore it down about 6 years ago. And then now they're rebuilding it. So we're coming up under the bridge at 175. So this is actually leaving out of bonton. We have floodgates here because this neighborhood was a flood desert. And so we have it hasn't flooded in, I think they say over 20 years, but I'm really not for sure because I've only been down here 7. We have to the left of us our new community subdivision police department, and it was down in Bonton at one point, and now they moved it. They rebuilt the center and moved it down here. A lot of this development, as we continue to drive, is new development. What they called it, Bear Street improvement. And so what they did is they went in, they put some nice townhomes up, and just to kind of make the community look a little bit better. And so these are for purchase townhomes. But what I'm really disappointed in is what we're coming up on is this retail space that they built when they said Bear Street improvement, and it's just empty retail. You see, no cars are here, and it's supposed to be retail for people in this community to be able to work and provide jobs for the community. But it's been up for about 5-6 years, and it's literally empty. And when I come down to find out how can redeemed women like rent a space or even possibly purchase a space, I get the runaround, and it's overpriced. It's like over $2,000 to rent a month, and it's just ridiculous. So, you know, that's what really breaks my heart about people coming down and capitalizing off the neighborhood, and then it's not really for the neighborhood. And then we have another little grocery store, little beer store, local beer store that people just hang out at, you see. And then most of the time you see all the action at night. After 6 o'clock, you see a lot of the action. The action is people hanging out, people selling drugs in front of the store, people, you know, smoking their drugs in front of the store. So you see a lot of the action a lot of times after 6 o'clock. So now we're gonna go to our local grocery store, and in proximity to driving, it's probably about 10 minutes. But of course, if you're walking, it's an hour and something. And if you are on the bus, it's 3.5 hour round trip just to get there and back. And the reason I know that is because I rode the bus. Because I'm one of these kind of people that, to know about the neighborhoods, you need to really be interested in finding out about the neighborhood. So I got up and I rode the bus to the local grocery store, and I rode it back, and it took me 3.5 hour round trip bus ride. And I was crying. It was emotionally straining. I was hurt to see what the women in this community have to go through. What do you do when you have groceries that you need to buy and you only have your 2 hands? So we launched a cart service where we ask people to buy us some carts on Amazon, where we gift these to the ladies so they can have a way to go grocery shopping and don't have to worry about just only using their 2 hands, or the kids having to transport the groceries as well. So I just like, you know, a lot of times I just like for people to see the neighborhood, see that there's no Starbucks, see that there's no Kroger, see all the people hanging out, see all the litter and all the trash, see all the mental illness, because it's really prevalent here, because a lot of people hang out that have mental illness and it's not being addressed. The one thing about South Dallas is there are a lot of local businesses here, but a lot of people don't really shop local here just because it's always overcrowded by the people that's just hanging out in front of the stores, and there's a lot of vandalism here, so you have to beef up security. So that's one thing that we said, that when we invested in getting the well, we had to have a good security system to be able to alert us to take care of the property. We want to take care of what we have. So, and yes, we are still driving and not to our nearest grocery store yet. So that's why I like to say, I said, just come check it out for yourself so you can see in proximity. Because I couldn't imagine not having transportation. I couldn't imagine not Even having transportation with air conditioning. My hot flashes are so bad, I have to have air conditioning. I'm like, oh Lord. But I couldn't imagine. But I was one of those persons that didn't have transportation for years. One of the persons that used to have to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, get on the bus, take my daughter to daycare, get back on the bus, and go to work. And then do that same thing in the evening time. This is what they call the meat market. This is the pillar of South Dallas, the packing house. And they take food stamps there as well. But they sell all different kinds of meat that the community likes. And other people from outside of the community come as well. So if I was on the bus, this would be the bus stop that I would get off right here to the right. This would be the bus stop that I would get off at to walk down to our local grocery store. So imagine coming from where we just drove from, which was my house, up to Martin Luther King Jr.'s where the bus lets me off at. And then I get off and I walk down to the nearest store. Because the bus from my neighborhood does not go down to the nearest store. And this nearest grocery store from bonton is called Fiesta. And a lot of people know about Fiesta. They've been around for a long time. But this is the nearest grocery store from our neighborhood, Fiesta. And and Fiesta is right across from the State Fair of Texas Fair Park. So if you know where the State Fair is, you're gonna know where the grocery store is. And we won't go inside and look at the product, but I can tell you that this grocery store does not sell fresh fruit. A lot of the times the prices are overpriced. The product looks worn down. They ship it in from other stores and then they sell it to this neighborhood at a lower rate. It's terrible. And so this is our nearest grocery store. And we go back and we do it all over again. Ain't nothing like some footage. So this right here is a local tire shop here. And a lot of people come down here and of course they get the tires worked on. But they also sell drugs out of there as well. So there's been a lot of raids in there. There's been a lot of crackdown. And when we talk about drugs and alcohol being on the rise in this community, statistically, it's true. This neighborhood itself is predominantly black. A predominantly black neighborhood. We do have some Hispanic and some white, not much, but it's predominantly black. So here to the left of me, this is our local high school, and this is Lincoln High School, and Lincoln High School has been here forever. So a lot of the kids from the neighborhood actually walk down to the school, and then if they can afford a bus pass, they'll buy a DART bus pass, and then the bus drops them right off in front of the school. So another thing that I like to point out is the shapes of the homes. So here is a home that's just run down and really raggedy, and just is how a lot of homes look in this community. So they don't have the best work going into them. The maintenance is down. But how can you have maintenance if you don't have money to maintain the house? So Again, this is one of the liquor stores in the neighborhood that sells the backdoor drugs out the neighborhood, and this is what they call Baxter Street Village, where people do retail here, but then they also have some apartments above. And it's supposed to be retail, but you see that there are no cars there, so that means that's not retail. And then this is our new police subdivision. And so people are glad to know that this is here, and they do have crime watch for this neighborhood. The problem is getting people to openly speak about the crime that goes on here in the neighborhood. So this is our local highway that's closed off. This is 175, and the exit is closed right now, so that's why I say if you drive right past us, you'll miss us. But hopefully they'll have this up soon. They've been working on this 6 years almost. And so hopefully they'll have this up and working soon, so we're able to use the ramp. The local elementary school that they closed down is called H.S. Thompson, and they closed down the school to tear down and remodel and rebuild. And so not very much, but then also that's that 175 sign there, so people will know where they are. If you're at 175, you're in South Dallas, and so we have to take the back way to get around the neighborhood because a lot of the roads are closed in the neighborhood. So this is our local park, and it is William Blair Jr. Park. And this park has been here forever, and the residents here call it Rochester Park. It's been here since 1945. And so the residents, they can come and they can fish here. They're not supposed to fish there, but they do fish there. Let me just say that. And then they come and then they just hang out. On Sundays, it's really, really crowded down here. This is not a route that you want to take on Sundays, because they have all the nice cars, the low riders, the motorcycle drivers, and they have the park full of people that are barbecuing and partying. So it's usually crowded on Sundays. And Habitat is doing a lot down here. I live in a Habitat home. I've been here 7 years. And I am a proud sponsor and supporter and advocate for Dallas Habitat for Humanity. And we're gonna pass by some of the houses that they're putting up in the community. They have been working down here for quite a few years, and building up the community by offering affordable housing. I love the murals. I don't know if you can, let me turn this way. I don't know if you can see this mural, but this is like a mural of what the lake looked like and how people would sit out and fish over at the lake over there.
I got it.
So some of the examples of what Habitat is doing down here is like this house to the right of me. This is a Habitat home. And there's a lot Habitat is looking to purchase. But Habitat is really doing a lot in the community. You have a 2-story home that Habitat put up a few years back. And they're putting 2 stories down here in the neighborhood with garage. And so they're trying to come down, but the problem is you have a mixture of nice Habitat homes, with a mixture of slumlord homes, with a mixture of homeowners that's been down here for years, but that just don't have the money to take care of their property. You have a lot of abandoned vehicles in our neighborhood that just sit out on the street, which makes it hard for us to travel. You have a lot of empty lots that are just, full of trash, things like this that just sit out on the neighborhood that needs to get picked up by the city. And then you have some people down here working on some property here. This is Habitat as well. And they are putting 2 houses up here. They're doing a lot in the community as far as putting new build. This is Habitat as well. And so they're doing a lot as far as trying to get new build up here. And then you just have a lot of open lots, like these lots here. You just have a lot of open lots that just are sitting. Like they could be used for putting new development on, or could be used to sell to redeem women, so we can put a house on, or maybe even build a small center. But this breaks my heart to see this kind of land the lots just be sitting and being wasted. So I'm trying to get in touch with the city of Dallas officials to get them to invest in redeem women and help us out. And lastly, you're in Bonton. I don't know if you can see that sign up there, but you are in Bonton and we're on Bear and Valentine. But this is our neighborhood, Bonton. And a lot of people think that it's 2 words. It's not 2 words, it's all 1 word. And you see the homelessness here. You see a lot of people that literally just have nothing and they just have to be outside. And that really breaks my heart. And we know at Redeem Women, we can't address every need, but we can address some of the needs. And so that's what our heart is. And our heart is to partner with people that can address some of the needs. I know everybody in the community, so I had to stop and wave at them all.
Yes, you did. Yes, you did, girl.
Well, the best way to know people in the community is just to be out in the community, so I meet them all. So that's the tour. And so I just challenge people to ask questions. Ask questions. Find out what you don't know. I'm an open book. And then we're back on my street, Choice Street in Bonton. And there are several Habitat homes on my street. So we have about, I think, 10 to 12 on my street. And we try to keep the street pretty clean. We go and we talk to the neighbors and ask them, do they need help getting trash up and getting things out their yard. And we work with the elderly a lot. And then me and my husband have been in our home 7 years here in Dallas. It is a Habitat home as well.
Very nice. Bye.
Bye.